On this episode of the Hanford Insider, we get a chance to visit with Maritza Lemus about the wonderful things happening with the Kings County CASA program. You'll get an update of Hanford news and the community calendar. Then later, I'll be back with your sports report. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, April 14th.
Welcome to the Hanford Insider. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. This weekly podcast is a great way to learn about our community and meet interesting people. Best of all, it's listener-supported. Insiders provide show ideas and contribute to the content, and there's no advertising. This is a hobby for me. If you enjoy this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/HanfordInsider to make a donation. And don't forget that if you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Now let's take a look at this week's community news. The Hanford City Council will be meeting on Tuesday, April 15th. During the afternoon study session, they'll be reviewing a capital improvement plan and hearing a presentation of the goals and objectives for 25 and 2026. During the general meeting at 7 p.m., they'll be recognizing the Sierra Pacific High School girls basketball team for winning the Valley Championship last month. There'll be a public hearing about modifications in a new subdivision being built near Hume Avenue. And in general business, they'll discuss the condition of the building on the northeast corner of Dowdy and 6th. The building is becoming unsafe and the owner has not presented any plan to sell, remodel, or demolish it. So city staff will update the council on the condition of the building and next steps, including potential demolition. I've seen the pictures in the council report and agree that the building that's been up since the late 1890s is truly falling apart. It hasn't been kept up or reinforced in years, and there's been no effort by the owner to keep the building, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if the building is demolished in the future. Most of you know by now that our current Miss Kings County, Emily Carpenter, is suffering a setback in her cancer treatment. There'll be a blood replacement drive on Thursday, April 17th at Adventist Health on Mall Drive from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Please consider donating blood in this time of need. Also, it was great to see that the Kings River Hardwick School held a fundraiser earlier this month for Emily's Golden Positivity Foundation for juvenile cancer patients, and they donated over $25,000. I understand that Frontier Elementary School is holding a fundraiser as well. It's so heartwarming to see how Hanford has rallied around Emily and her family. In lighter news, how about a big shout out to Elsa Young of the Kings County Sheriff's Office, who was honored as Kings County Dispatcher of the Year last Friday evening at the ceremony held at the Hanford Civic Auditorium. Elsa's exceptional service, calm under pressure, and unwavering commitment to public safety made her a standout choice for this year's top honor. Congratulations, Elsa! The Cinderella Project of Hanford is still accepting donations of new and used prom dresses, shoes, purses, or jewelry for the upcoming prom on May 3rd. Donations may be dropped off at the Hanford High School District Office on Lacey Boulevard across from Carl's Jr. The Hanford Police Department has announced the formation of the Citizens Police Academy. It includes over 20 hours of skilled and professional instruction. They require 6 consecutive Wednesday night meetings from 6 to 9 p.m. To find out more, visit hanfordca.gov/citizens. Let's take a look at this week's community calendar. At the food truck takeover in the Civic Park this Wednesday, April 16th, the lineup includes Tacos San Marcos and Chef Gray. The trucks are open from 11 to 2 each Wednesday in the beautiful Civic Auditorium Park. On Friday, April 18th, the City of Hanford is putting on the annual egg hunt in the Civic Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be food vendors, creative arts and crafts, and fun and games. There will be 5 divisions for egg hunts, including an adult egg hunt category. The activities are free due to the generosity of Anthem Blue Cross. Kings County Special Olympics is holding a carnival at the Longfield Center on Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Saturday, April 26th, the Echoes of Courage celebration will be held, marking the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. There will be a parade through downtown Hanford at 10, and then there will be a ceremony at 11 in the park. There'll be food trucks, a beer garden, and a car show. On next week's show, we'll hear from several of our Vietnam vets and have more information about the event. Speaking of car shows, the Downtown Hanford Car Show, hosted by the Carnegie Museum of Kings County, will be held on Saturday, June 7th. Registration is now open at carnegiecarshow.com. Saturday, June 7th is also the date of the centennial celebration of the Hanford Civic Auditorium. There'll be a ceremony at 3 and a ticketed gala dinner at 6 p.m. Visit hanfordca.gov/civic100 for more information. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's the most comprehensive community calendar available. Well, it's great to have on the show with us Maritza Lemus from the CASA of Kings County. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Maritza, the CASA of Kings County is such an important program, and it serves so many people. Can you tell us a little bit about the CASA program and how it serves the children of Kings County?
Sure. So basically, CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and what we do is we recruit, train, and support volunteers from the community who then advocate for kids in foster care, and they're a voice for them in court.
And what drew you to this area of work? What drew you to CASA?
You know, I, like most people in the community, did not know about CASA of Kings County. I was doing some intern work when I was getting my associates at West Hills. And through that, I was interning at Champions, where I facilitated a group of kids 5 to 12. So in this program, families came together, and a lot of the families I was seeing was parents trying to reunify with their kids or trying to get them back in their placement. So I kind of got to hear some of those stories. So when I heard about CASA and learned that they work with kids in foster care, of course, then I didn't know at what capacity. I just thought it would be interesting to kind of see what that all was about due to my exposure working with that group.
So let's walk through a typical day at CASA. What are you responsible for, and what is the outcomes? I mean, I've heard so many wonderful stories about placements and such. Kind of walk us through the process of someone who is placed into the system.
So, of course, my role here as the executive director, I've been the executive director, it's going to be 2 years now, but I have been here since 2016. So I've kind of seen this program grow from 2-person staff to now 6 and how we've grown. But essentially, you know, when a child enters foster care, you know, children are either in the home with their families or they're removed. And during this process, they can experience so much change. Just in the system alone, there's about 5 stages these kids can go through, either out of home or in-home placement. Then they could potentially go to legal guardianship or adoption. And if none of those work, then you have your long-term foster care, and then you have your AB-12 from 18 to 21. So there's just so many things, just changes that can happen without even, you know, the different circumstances of these families. So at some point, a referral is made to the judge, and they are then referred to us. And then we receive that referral, and then they get added to our wait list. So from there, now we're trying to match advocates that we know have the skills to be able to work with this case. So we do a lot of our recruiting out in the community, social clubs, wherever we can be and share information, we do that. And then we recruit advocates for our training classes. Those are usually held in April and October. And I mean, we don't ask for special qualifications to be an advocate. You know, everybody has different backgrounds professionally, career-wise, but they just bring so much to the table in the fact that they want to donate their time to work with these kids, with these families, because we know that reunification is important. And if we can give families the tools for families to stay together, that is our goal. And if not, of course, we will advocate for something different.
So what are the statistics versus someone who has not received assistance from CASA?
So kids who have an advocate are most likely to graduate, most likely to reunify. I would like to say that kids who don't have advocates are most likely to experience homelessness. troubles with the law, loss of connections with siblings. That's sometimes a little big when you have sibling sets and kids kind of get separated just due to capacity of, being there. But research shows that it only takes one person to make a difference. And this advocate can do that for that child. And, sometimes they are the one person that they have for the rest of their life to count on. And I think that's great. Our advocates, once they finish a case and they're relieved, it's up to them whether they want to stay connected with the family or the youth. A lot of them do. And then just recently, we had one that decided that the last thing this youth needed was a family, and that's what he was able to provide. So that's an amazing story as well.
So leads us right into the what I was going to ask you about, personal stories. I'm sure you've got a whole book's worth. Share with us a few more of the touching stories that have been affecting children.
I think the biggest one has been this year. It kind of makes us emotional here in the office, but we had a youth who had been in a foster care system for a long time. He was special needs, and this youth throughout the years went through different placements and really didn't have a lot of connections. And when he was assigned his advocate, the conversation with the advocate as soon as he was sworn in is, you're getting this case. And we have 3 weeks to be able to help this youth before he's homeless out in the street. Of course, my advocate was freaking out and said, what am I supposed to do in 3 weeks? But, he was really proactive in working with this youth and getting him to understand, like, hey, we kind of got to pick up the pace. And, what you have here is not what it's going to be like if, you're out in the streets and we're having to go look out for you just to make sure that you're okay, especially because this youth was already over the age of 18 and they have until 21 to have, the benefits that they get. So slowly within those 3 weeks, he was able to get him in a good placement. And our advocate was just waiting for him to turn 21 and say, hey, he's been in foster care for a long time. He really is not connected to any family other than the service members. So on his 21st birthday, his case closed, which was just recently. And now he said, all right, bud, the last thing you need is a family. And my family has been waiting to meet you. We're so excited. And to this day, we now see him with them, all the time celebrating his family. He was so excited. He'd never had, a birthday cake. So it was just really nice to see how much that advocate was willing to give more than that. That's just, a dream of ours here and our advocates to see the change, right? Because sometimes you don't see the change. Sometimes the changes are small things and we have to celebrate those as well. But, I also caution our advocates that we might never know what impact we have, and that, youth will turn into an adult, and maybe one day they think back and say, man, if it wasn't for a CASA advocate, I would have never, and then, the blank. So the fact that, you have members from the community that are so dedicated to want to work with these, kids and families and help them make a difference just speaks volumes to the type of community that we have.
So what kind of training do they go through to prepare to be an advocate?
Yeah, so that's great. We're just starting training. It started yesterday. So we do really have an intense training. It's 30 hours. That 30 hours consists of in-session training. We have different presenters. Some of these presenters are going to be people that they work with in the community. Like for tonight, we actually have a foster youth panel for the first hour that gets to talk about their experience of being in foster care. And they kind of give advice to the advocates. Some of them have advocates, some of them don't. And then the second hour is a panel of social workers. So we get to hear what it's, day to day like for them and the things that they experience. So we really want them to have a clear picture of, what we'll be doing. We're not selling it that we're just going to change lives. Like, no, this is difficult, but it can also be very rewarding. So they do those trainings. They also do what's called CASA University. So it's a platform online where we actually do the reading, all the codes, all the standards, all the different things that we have to abide to and how this program came about. And they do mini quizzes on that. All advocates are required to have a court observation. So this is a time when we go to the court and we show them all the different professionals that they will be working with, so they become familiar what it looks like to be in the courthouse and, the verbiage that's used, because, it could be a scary thing. You're going to court. So we kind of get them through that so that they have an understanding. And then once that happens, we do what's called on-the-job training. So once they finish the actual training, they get sworn by the judge. So they raise their right hand. And we have our wonderful Judge Giuliani here who oversees dependency, and they repeat an oath. And that's what makes them officially an officer of the court. But after that, it's kind of, okay, we've heard from the professionals and you read, now it's time to get going. So what we do is we introduce them to their cases. We let them know all the different information. We schedule meetings with the social workers to get information on the cases, ask any questions. We do a home visit. So basically what we want to do is gather information about the case to see where we're at, to see where do we fit in? Where can we help? Where can we start? And then from there, we just kind of continue to guide them through the process of, ups and downs and whatever else they might experience on their case.
So these trained advocates do it for the love of children, and they do wonderful things that are not paid, but they do receive a lot of support. Can you tell us about the support that they receive?
Of course. Yeah, no, you're right. Our advocates are just, dedicated community members wanting to make a difference. And, we have our program coordinator, Roxanne, who helps assist the advocates as well as our program assistant. So we're constantly having conversations and checking in with them. And, just for instance, we had an advocate whose youth had to have surgery, and she was visiting him at the hospital. And, she was asking him why he was upset. And his statement was like, well, nobody's here to visit me. And she said, well, I'm here to visit you. He said, yeah, well, you're different. You're paid to be here. And, she said, no, I'm not. I'm not paid to be here. I do this because I want to. And we find that a lot of times kids always ask that question. And when they get the response, their first, reaction is to say like, why? And they're like, oh, because, I want to. I want to help you. So it just kind of changes the dynamics of their relationships versus their relationships with other service providers that, are there to ask them questions. How's it going, right? Do you kind of have to, I always express it in the sense that they have to give and give. When the advocate, they can just sit there not saying anything. We're just asking if they want to share. If not, they kind of just get to be in that moment and do some of the stuff that might not be heavy, where they constantly have to check in with others. I think that's the opportunity that also helps the advocates connect with our youth, that leads them on a path to kind of working together to get through the rough times of, kids being in foster care.
So you do receive a lot of support from the community and the county, but it's not exactly a county program. They support the program, but as I understand it, your program is funded mainly by grants and some of the fundraising activities that you have.
Yes, that is correct. So we have our annual Light of Hope fundraiser that happens every Saturday at the end of September. That's usually our major recruiting. We do solicitations to direct mailings through the end of the year. We recently have our Growing Hope campaign where we set a goal to raise $30,000, and we connected with a lot of donors in our community, and we were actually able to reach that goal. So that was amazing. But as well, like you suggested, other grants, federal grants, anything that we can that supports, our mission, we're definitely applying, and we hope to continue to grow, have more events, bring in more income, provide more community awareness, because believe it or not, we're a small county, Kings County, but a lot of people still haven't heard from CASA, whether it's to recruit more advocates or raise more funds. But luckily, we're good. We're blessed to have a lot of donors who believe in our mission and continue to support us.
That's great. Well, before we wrap things up, I always ask my guests, what is one big common misconception of your organization that you'd like to maybe correct the myth or get the word out about what actually CASA does and is about?
Sure, of course. Well, I want to say first, initially is in our title, CASA. When you see CASA, a lot of people think house, right? They think that we provide housing services. And I think the other major one is that we help certify for being a foster parent. I think it's, pretty hard sometimes for people to differentiate between the advocacy part and the foster care and being a foster parent, because they kind of, they're both go hand in hand. But usually when we communicate and have them attend a session and we really break it down, then they understand, oh, this is not a housing, a place, or this is not somewhere where I can foster, which is really what we want to do. And we say, okay, that's fine. We'll connect you straight to someone in the agency that will help you with that process, because we need foster parents too. I think the word advocate sometimes causes people to think, like, we get a lot of calls from people wanting to go to family court. I need help with this. I need an advocate for my child. And it's kind of like, okay, well, let's talk about it, where we have to, explain, like, our referrals come from the judge and we only serve foster youth. We wish we could instead extend it for all kids, right? But the reality is that that's not how our program works. But we can go ahead and refer you to the law facilitator at the courthouse. So we're always trying to provide all those different resources so that people can still get connected to whatever it is that they are looking for.
Well, this has been some outstanding information. I've learned so much. Thank you.
No, and thank you so much for having us. And like I said, we're always recruiting. So if you are interested in becoming an advocate or learning more, you can go ahead and reach us at 559-587-9908. We also have our CASAKingsCo.org website. Walking in, because we can always use more volunteers, because usually there's about 300 to 400 kids in foster care each year. We might not need to serve them all, but we definitely need to serve more.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
We start with softball, where Hanford West continued their winning ways, picking up a pair of league wins last week. Tuesday's home matchup with Kerman saw both teams trade runs throughout the game, but a 3-run Huskies first inning proved to be the difference maker in the 9-6 victory. In Friday's away game, the Huskies fell behind early to Kingsburg, trailing 3-1 after 2 innings, but fought back, and with the game tied at 4 heading into the 6th, the Huskies plated a run in the 6th and added 3 more in the 7th to come away with the 8-4 win. Emma Guzman highlighted the Huskies' week at the plate, going 4 for 7 in the 2 games with 3 doubles and 5 runs batted in, while pitcher Rylan Montoya picked up both wins in the circle. The 13-2 Huskies will ride a 5-game winning streak into their busy week of action this week at the Clovis Easter Classic. Hanford High went 1-2 last week, dropping both games of their league series with Tulare Union, but picked up an 11-6 win in a non-league clash with Sierra Pacific, where a 7-run bottom of the third proved to be the difference in an otherwise back-and-forth contest. The Bullpups will also be busy in tournament play this week. As for Sierra Pacific, aside from the loss to the Bullpups, the Golden Bears went 1-1 in their 2 league games, suffering their first league loss of the season at the hands of Emmanuel, 7-6 thanks to a late-inning Eagles rally, but picked up a 14-4 run rule victory versus Washington Union, with Miranda Reyes going 2 for 4 with a home run and 3 runs batted in the win. The Golden Bears also picked up a tournament win over Chavez on Saturday, 8-3, and now sit at 10-7 overall. On to baseball, where Sierra Pacific won both games of their league series with Kerman to improve to 3-1 in league action. In Wednesday's 3-1 win on the road, Nathan Chavez picked up 2 RBI, and in Friday's 5-1 win at home, Justin Seamus had a nice day at the plate, going 3 for 4. 5 different pitchers combined to hold the Lions to only 2 runs while striking out 14 over the 2-game series. The Golden Bears are currently 12-4 overall on the year. Hanford High and Hanford West were both unable to pick up wins in their league tilts last week, with the Bullpups losing their series to Mission Oak and the Huskies falling in their 2 games to Washington Union. All 3 baseball teams will be in action this week at the 55th Annual Fresno Easter Classic. As always, we'd like to cover as many local sports as we can, so if you have a score report, a story, or a team update, please let us know at hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media, or like most of my listeners, just telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.